It's been a long time. I shouldn't have left you. This is Dr. Jason Johnson for my three things. I guess we're done with the shutdown. I don't know. Anyway, this is Dr. Jason Johnson. If you have never been to my YouTube before, or you're seeing this on Instagram, or you're seeing this on Blue Sky, or you're seeing this on Twitter, I'm always call it Twitter. My mama called it Twitter. I don't care what Elon Musk says. You're going to see about the first minute where I talk about what the three things are for today. And then if you want to see the entire video, you go over to YouTube where I'll explain the whole thing. Please like, subscribe, and share. Good gracious. I got to talk about this shutdown, and I'm really irritated about not just the shutdown, but the conversations around the shutdown. So that's what today's three things are going to be. So number one, why is the shutdown ending? Right? Why did Democrats cave? Why is the shutdown ending? Number two, what we will have to do about that in the coming year. And number three, what does this mean for our sort of democracy as a whole, right? So why did the Democrats cave? What do we do about it? And three, what does this mean in the grander scheme of things? And I'm knee deep in this, and I want to start this. I want to start this with this whole idea of caving. You only cave when you put up a fight, right? So I want to be clear about the fact that the Democrats did put up a fight for a while. The shutdown was completely a creation of the Republican Party. The Republicans and their 3Bs bill earlier this year, their obsession is in getting rid of Obamacare, getting rid of the subsidies, getting rid of the subsidies for the marketplaces, which will drive up everybody's insurance costs. And that doesn't mean, that's not just if you are buying your insurance directly from a market. It could also drive up your insurance costs at your job, right? Like if you're a state employee and your healthcare comes from a marketplace or something else like that, that could go up as well. All these different kinds of things can happen. And the Republican Party as a whole has been after that for 15 years now. They have no plan. They have no replacement for Obamacare at all. They have no replacement for the Affordable Care Act at all. It is so bad and so obvious. I take you back through history. Remember, John McCain was the one who voted to stop them from gutting it like just a couple years ago before he died. That's the reason why you have Marjorie Taylor Greene. Marjorie Taylor Greene, the lady who was saying anti-Semitic things about space lasers. Crazy Marjorie Taylor Greene. She's been going around. She was on The View saying, hey, we can't just get rid of the Affordable Care Act, which she does not like, let's be clear, but we can't just get rid of the Affordable Care Act without any sort of backup plan. During the debates in 2024, remember, Donald Trump famously said, we have concepts of a plan. They have no replacement for healthcare. And healthcare for everybody, if you're on any version of the ACA, it's going to jump up and expire on January 31st. So that's the context here, right? The Democrats were saying you have to at least fund healthcare for another year because people are about to get screwed. Some people are finding out that their rates are going to go up anyway, right? As people are kind of going through the enrollment period. So that's the concept of this. That's the context. And the Democrats said, hey, if you don't fix that, we're not voting for your crazy budget, which we don't like anyway. And we're not going to let the government just keep going and going and going as you take advantage of people. So Chuck Schumer was doing that and Hakeem Jeffries was doing that, and it all seemed to make sense. And then 3 days after Democrats do great in all of the elections in New Jersey and in Virginia and in mayor's races and everything else like that, 8 Democrats led by Shaheen and Angus King and Tim Kaine, 8 Democratic senators came together basically on Friday, pitched a deal. They're like, hey, maybe just one more year, Thune and the Republicans. The Republicans said no. And then they folded. They capitulated. They said, all right, fine. We'll vote for this. We'll let you reopen the government. We'll let you, the only things that the Democrats really got were when the government reopens, the people who are illegally fired are going to get their jobs back. Well, that never should have happened to begin with. Well, when they reopen the government, everybody gets back pay. Well, that's how it's supposed to work anyway. Well, they reopen the government, people get SNAP benefits. Okay, but Donald Trump was clearly trying to stop paying SNAP benefits anyway. Like all of this was problematic. And they caved. They got nothing for it. Nothing except things that would have probably happened anyway, or things that may have not occurred had the shutdown not occurred to begin with. Now, here's where I'm going to take you on a little bit of a different direction. There is a logic behind caving. I don't agree with it. It's not my strategy, but there's a logic behind what they did. And the logic is this. If you're watching this on YouTube right now, there's an interesting video. I can't cut it in because there's like copyright things. But if you've ever seen The Dark Knight, you guys know I'm a comic book guy. If you ever seen The Dark Knight, the one with Heath Ledger and you know, as the Joker and everything else like that, there's this interrogation scene at the end, right, where Batman is beating up the Joker because he's trying to find out where he's placed these bombs and where he's kidnapped people. And if you stop right now on YouTube and look, you type in like Joker, nothing to threaten me with. It's like 25 seconds. You go, watch that, pause, come back, right? But Batman is beating the crap out of the Joker. And the Joker is like, he's taking the punches and he's laughing. And he's like, you have nothing to threaten me with. There's nothing I care about. So you can beat me all you want to try to get this information out of me, but I'm not going to do anything because I'm not driven by anything that you can materially impact. Think about that for a second. Think about how difficult it is to face a villain or face a bad guy or face an enemy who doesn't really care about anything or not anything that you can touch. That's essentially what happened with the Democrats and Donald Trump. There were really only two ways that a shutdown could end, right? One way is the Republicans in the Senate and the House are like, oh my gosh, the shutdown is hurting my constituents. SNAP is hurting them. The lack of SNAP, the lack of jobs. We're heading into holiday season. Businesses are jumping on me. So one path is the Republican senators go to Donald Trump and they say, hey, you got to sign this bill that's going to fund Obamacare for at least a year, right? Or fund the subsidies for a year. That's one way this could have ended. The other way this could have ended, right, is with the Democrats capitulating, right? Saying, okay, fine. And that's where we're at right now. The third option is the shutdown just continues in perpetuity, right? Now, why do I use that Joker example? Because Donald Trump doesn't care about anything. Donald Trump doesn't care about the Republicans. He doesn't care about elections. He doesn't care about the economy because he's ripping the government blind. He's robbing us at every single step of the way. So he's unmoved. There's nothing anybody can threaten him with because he doesn't care about anything. So the only way that this could have ended would have been if the Republicans decided, hey, you know what? Screw you, Donald Trump. I'm going to face consequences for this at home. So we're going to get all the Republicans together and all the Democrats together in the House and the Senate, and we're going to pass this in a veto-proof way. That's probably not going to happen. I mean, it's just not going to happen. And so basically what 8 Democrats, none of whom have to face election in 2026, what they decided is, I guess we're going to cave because we can't find a weak point in Donald Trump. We can't. He doesn't care about anything. He's the Joker. He's the Joker. If you know the line for the movie is like, you know, I'm just a dog chasing cars. I wouldn't even know what to do if I caught one. Donald Trump is in power. All he knows is how to steal money from us, how to tear things down and do crypto. He doesn't really care or have any interest in governing. And he keeps getting reelected by larger amounts by people who don't seem to care that he does not care about them. So that's how we got here. They caved because they're like, I don't think we can find any weaknesses in this guy, which is a very scary proposition, which I'll get to in point number 3. But that's how we got here. That's why the cave happened. So point number 2, what do we do about that? Well, right now, a lot of people are angry. You know, I watch The Daily Show with Jon Stewart. A lot of people are mad. They're screaming and jump up and down, saying the Democrats suck and they're terrible and garbage. Let's be clear about why this happened. It's not just Chuck Schumer, and it's not just the 8 senators who decided to flip, because the truth of the matter is there's a lot more than 8 senators who wanted to get out of this because they're a bunch of cowards. It's just these 8 were able to do it because they're like, hey, we don't have to face the voters next year, so we can cover for everybody else. That's why these 8 people were sort of self-selected to cover for everybody else. So what do you do about it as a voter? Well, you can call, you can complain, but more importantly, what you do is when next year's midterm elections come around, you don't forget about this. When your local municipal elections in the spring of 2026 come around, you don't forget about this. You vote out every single elected official who was not supportive and actively supportive of the shutdown. So what do I mean by that? They're elected officials at the state level and the congressional level, state level and congressional level and county level who are like, hey, let's open up a fund to help people without SNAP. Hey, let's open up these resources for government employees out of work. You vote for those people. You ask people who are running for office, where were you during the shutdown? What was your position during the shutdown? You vote out any and every single person who was a coward on this issue. And for those who hid behind these 8, you ask them. Ask your member of Congress, ask your senator, say, hey, how were you going to vote? What would have mattered to you one way or another? You look at their vote, you look at their decision making. That's what you can do as a citizen. And then, as usual, what I always tell people you can do as a citizen, be ungovernable. I mean, at the end of the day, this is just one step in what we've been seeing from Donald Trump since he got back into office. It's not new. It's not shocking. He doesn't care about the government. That's why we had the shutdown to begin with. But what you can do as a citizen is continue to protest ICE, continue to fight against these government policies, continue to call and complain, continue to give your money to organizations and resources that make sense, continue to donate and volunteer for people who are out of work, continue to call local legislators, call your state senators, state houses, governors, and everything else like that to say, hey, release these funds, help SNAP, et cetera, et cetera. There's still things you can do at a local level. The energy from last week's election still applies now. You can make a difference locally, even if you can't do anything about what's happening nationally. That's what our job is as American citizens, okay? And number 3, really quickly, what does this mean for overall democracy? It's bad. I mean, the United States doesn't really have an opposition party. They don't. The Democratic Party, and this is not, I get people in the comments all the time like, oh, you bash the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party in our system is the only attempt we have at opposition, and they ain't built for this. We don't have a wartime consigliere. It's not Chuck Schumer. It's not Hakeem Jeffries. These people are not strong leaders. It doesn't mean that they're not smart people. It doesn't mean that they don't care. They're not strong leaders. And a strong leader, I will say this in particular about the shutdown, a strong leader could have done one of 2 things if you're Chuck Schumer. Either one, right, you message better and you tell people, hey, look, we're going to try a shutdown for 40 days or something like that. And if it works, great. And if we don't, we don't. I guess that could have been your plan. I think that's stupid. Or a strong leader could have kept 8 people from his own caucus from revolting. You couldn't put any pressure on these 8 people? None? Then you're not a leader. If I'm the coach of a basketball team and my starting 5 decides to run plays that I haven't called, then that's a problem. I'm not really the coach anymore. I don't care if the plays are good or bad. They're supposed to listen to me. So as far as our democracy goes, Chuck Schumer is not a very good leader. And if he cannot control his own caucus in the Senate, then it's unlikely that he can put up an effective resistance to anything that Donald Trump is doing or planning to do in the future. He's not a good leader. We've said this about Hakeem Jeffries as well with certain votes that he took. So our democracy is in peril because we have sort of an authoritarian regime that doesn't care about poverty, doesn't care about SNAP, will destroy the government, will sell us out for spare parts, and we have little or nobody to stand up against them. That's a problem. It's a bad thing. It's unfortunately where we happen to be. So 3 things real quick. Number 1, how do we end up getting to the shutdown and how do we end up getting to the cave? We cave because basically Democrats realize that Donald Trump is a joker and you can't do anything to make him feel bad, and they didn't want to resist anymore. That's the wrong strategy. I don't think that they pushed as far as they needed to see what his weaknesses might be, but they decided that he didn't have any and 8 people ran away. Number 2, what should you do about it as an American citizen? The same thing that you did a week ago. You voted across the country. You voted in Seattle. You voted in Detroit. You voted in Miami. You voted in Charlotte. You voted in New York. You voted in Pennsylvania. You voted in Virginia. You voted all over the country. You voted in Mississippi. You voted to say, look, if I can't control what these people are doing in Congress, I'm at least going to control what's going to happen locally. And number 3, what does it say for our democracy? It's not a good day. It's not a good day for American democracy. It's not a good day for any of us. But the fight continues, because unless you're trying to pack up and leave this country, this is the Congress we have until this time next year, and that's what we got to fight for. This is 3 things from Dr. Jason Johnson. Please like, subscribe, and share. I make it a point to respond to every single comment that you put down there, so I'll make sure I respond to it. I'll talk to you guys soon.